The rise of lonely single men, dating apps, and a drastically changing relationship landscape. I saw this story because it's gone viral among feminists. They're laughing. Haha, these men need to address skills deficits to meet healthier relationship expectations. That's right, men aren't good enough for women. Okay, well, the reality is men will never be good enough for women because relationships are a competitive market. So there is always going to be a quest for someone better, and there always is someone better to the average person. The dating system in this country, relationships, all that, it's imploding. 62% of dating app users are men. Where are the women? Why are men lonely and single? What are women doing? You see, what's happened is, how do you explain this, right? Isn't it? It's like 50-50 men and women, right? It's like, well, 51% women. So shouldn't there be something even? No. When you have a promiscuous society and open dating systems and no-fault divorce, very few men will end up dating and banging all of the women, even the ugly ones. And I don't mean to be mean by saying ugly, but I mean literally like women who are on the lower end of attractiveness scale. It's going to be the most attractive and successful men who are getting all of the women, which creates a large swath of men who are lonely and single. And I don't know exactly what will happen, but we have seen the rise of incels in the news. So, yeah, this is probably a component. I'm not here to blame women or men. I'm here to talk about the circumstances that are creating this situation. And I do want to point to the feminists and give them a bit of a critique in a different regard. You've got the story from The Week. Are Republicans coming for no-fault divorce? It was once very difficult for Americans to get divorced. Could it be soon again? Why get married at all if you want to easily get divorced? That's called dating, not marriage. You see, this is what happens. Marriage is done. It's been eroded. Now there's no real incentive for young men to get married. What's the point? Why? Just to give away your stuff and to lose in court and lose your kids and all that? No. You see, marriage was a commitment to each other. Now, when you look at the comments from the feminist websites, we have, I believe we have Jezebel. You have one woman saying, the problem with dating men is that I can't get a guarantee. You know, if I say in 5 years, I want to make $1 million, I know what my goal is. But with a man, he could leave you at any time. That was the purpose of marriage. Two individuals with free will need to make a commitment to each other to accomplish a goal that both are seeking. And if things aren't working out, counseling, not divorce. But divorce could happen in some circumstances. So this is my point. Let's read about the rise of lonely single men, what that means and why it's happening. And then I want to point out, when you start breaking down the systems of relationships in this country, everyone ends up unhappy. Psychology Today reports younger and middle-aged men are the loneliest they've been in generations, and it's probably going to get worse. This is not my typical rosy view of relationships, but a reality nonetheless. Over the last 30 years, men have become a larger portion of that growing group of long-term single people. And while you don't actually need to be in a relationship to be happy, men typically are happier and healthier when partnered. Here are 3 broad trends in relationship landscapes, that suggest heterosexual men are in for a rough road ahead. Dating apps. Whether you're just starting to date or you're recently divorced and dating again, dating apps are a huge driver of new romantic connections in the U.S. The only problem is that upwards of 62% of users are men, and many women are overwhelmed with how many options they have. Competition in online dating is fierce, and lucky in-person chance encounters with dreamy partners are rarer than ever. Let's stop there and address that issue. How does that make sense? 62% of dating app users are men? So wouldn't that imply that there are a bunch of single women that just don't use the apps? No. What's happening is the top 20% of men are dating all of the women. Okay, not all, but most. So with women becoming more promiscuous, and again, not a judgment statement, feminists. I'm saying quite literally, women are more freer and there's lower standards that used to be very puritanical. And now women can bang whoever they want. Okay, well, you see, women used to want commitments from men before giving it up because of the risks involved in pregnancy. Now they're willing to just give it up. On Tinder, for instance, you see all these messages where it's like men and women just being like, smash, smash. Okay, well, if that's the case, women are only going to go for the most attractive men. They have to have skills, resources, and good looks, which is the higher end of the bell curve. For men, they're just like, I'll take what I can get, because men aren't driven by wealth and status the same way women tend to be, or at least historically have tended to be. Thus, there is a small pool of men who are going to go around and just without consequence or commitment, bang any woman. And the women don't care. They're going to go and bang the men. So it's actually working out, I would say, to a certain degree with most women and the top men. The top men are like, they can get whatever they want, whenever they want. And women, of course, can choose to get what they want, whenever they want, except things start to change later in life. But we'll get into that in a minute. For now, this is creating a massive detriment to women. Of course, the end result will be a massive detriment to society, which I'll get into in a minute, but let's read. Relationship standards. They go on. With so many options, it's not surprising that women are increasingly selective. I do a live TikTok show and speak with hundreds of audience members every week. I hear recurring dating themes from women between the ages of 25 and 45. They prefer men who are emotionally available, good communicators, and share similar values. I'm going to pause right there and just say, dude, spare me. Humans have been around for long enough to know that the things women claim they want, they don't actually want. And most men want one thing. It's really that simple. And there's why they're tropes. Men are only interested in one thing. Yeah, for the most part. And women come out and say, like, I just want a guy who's like emotionally available and sensitive and a good communicator. And what they really want is some ripped dude who's rich. Not all women, not all men. You get my point. OkCupid pointed out a long time ago that all of these women on the platform were like, if you have a picture of you with your shirt off showing your abs, don't bother messaging me. And then they found that women were more likely to respond to a message from a guy who is showing off his abs. You see how that works? Perhaps because social norms play a bigger role for women. They don't want to come off as vapid or shallow, but they really just want to be vapid and shallow. I say embrace it, ladies. Outright, just say it. And that's what we're seeing. Tinder profiles where fat women and ugly women are like, you better be 6 foot tall, make 6 figures, and have at least 6 inches. And it's like, lady, that was actually a viral post I saw on Reddit. And they were just like, you are overestimating your value. And I'm here to tell you guys, no, she isn't. There's a reason they do this, and it works for them. Because these dudes are going to be on Tinder, and they're going to swipe right on everybody. And then they're going to get some woman, and they're going to be like, don't know, don't care, going to get me some. Skills deficits. Now, this is important. For men, this means a relationship skill gap that, if not addressed, will likely lead to fewer dating opportunities, less patience for poor communication skills, and longer periods of being single. The problem for men is that emotional connection is the lifeblood of healthy long-term love. Emotional connection requires all the skill that families are still not consistently teaching their young boys. I'm going to pause and just say this is actually a remnant of dating apps. Here's what happens. You get a 30-year-old guy. He's making $80K a year. He's got a car, a nice one. It's used, but he's got his own apartment. And he goes on Tinder and he swipes a bunch. And then there is a beautiful young thing, 20 years old. But she's like, yo, older guy, got a car, going to pick me up. He's going to pay for my drinks. Fun. Meanwhile, the 20-year-old guy who's in the same dorm with her and says, you want to hang out with me and the boys while we play video games because we're broke? She goes, no. Well, what really happens is she'll swipe right on a bunch of dudes. She'll get 2 guys. They're both attractive. 30-year-old guy says, I'll pick you up in my Mitsubishi. We'll go down to the lake. I'll buy you dinner. She goes, that sounds really fun. The younger guy says, well, I'm broke. I work at a deli, but you can come hang out in my dorm. And she goes, yeah, I want fancy dinner and a lake. So she just naturally tends toward the dude who has resources. This means this 20-year-old man will not have the ability to develop relationship skills because the opportunities are not as present. So women will increasingly be going after older guys, which brings me to this article from 2019, which I covered a long time ago. Before we get into the marriage stuff, the share of Americans not having sex has reached a record high. But yeah, it's mostly dudes. Take a look at this. So lack of sex driven mainly by the young. 23%, 18 to 29-year-olds. Wow. That's crazy, dude. Now, perhaps you can say it means they're being abstinent and they're waiting for marriage. Maybe, but maybe not voluntarily. Take a look at this. Among 40 to 49, you can see it goes up a little bit. 30 to 39, it goes way down. 50 to 59, it goes down. This is fascinating. Among women, it's gone up a little bit. Among men, it's up to 28%. 28% of men between the ages of 18 and 30 have reported having no sex in the past year, and a large portion are virgins. Why is it lower for women? Because women is banging older dudes. Duh. Among the older crowd, 30 to 39, it's gone down. Percent reporting no sex in the past year. So when this goes down, these are people saying that they're hooking up. The point is, if you're a 30-year-old guy, you've got younger women who are available to you. Which brings me to Jezebel. The number of lonely single men is on the rise thanks to modern dating's higher standards. Boy, do they really just not get it or not care to get it. Jezebel comes out with a feminist take, only addressing one small issue, saying men should be better. The reason men don't have the relationship skills you need is because women overwhelmingly are dating older guys and younger men aren't getting an opportunity to learn how to be better mates. That and just society in general is drifting towards a dark direction toward, as it pertains to relationships. Now they go on, they mention, okay, this is actually kind of bad because what's going to happen is you're going to get a bunch of incels. They say the knowledge that single straight men are running out of options unless they acquire the skills to be in a healthy and supportive relationship is validating, but it also comes with its own set of concerns. Growing numbers of lonely single men sounds like a recipe for more self-victimizing incels. After all, it's a patriarchal society that just overturned Roe v. Wade. Ah, yes. Well, there was a solution to this problem. Let me read for you the first comment from an individual who posted it just yesterday evening. I think the frustrating thing about dating for men is the complete lack of guarantees. If I wanted to set a goal of owning $1 million in real estate in the next 5 years, I could create a plan of action with steps 1 through 10. And although it may not be easy, I could do it. Let's say I wanted to improve my physique and physical health and get in best shape of my life again. I could create a plan of action, perhaps start an intermittent fasting regimen and cut out carbs, make sure I get 15,000 steps a day while coupling that with an hour at the gym. And after a few months or a year or 2 years, I would have that physique that was closer to the ideal standard. Dating offers no such guarantee. You could have 100 women write down 10 things they are looking for from their ideal partner, compile that data and create a list of 10 or 12 things that women are looking for, become the ideal embodiment of those things, make it your life's work to make sure that you have those 10 or 12 characteristics, and you can still end up by yourself. Every woman can look at you and still say, nah, chief, I'm good. And that's absolutely their prerogative. It's a sobering feeling, made doubly so by the fact that it's probably the thing that we worry about the most. And also the thing that people don't really seem to care much about. I am under no circumstances advocating the rampant misogyny that comes from this inconvenient truth, because I do think way too many men are trafficking in that space because they cannot handle the fact that they may end up alone. But it does suck to think about, and I wish more healthy conversations could be had as it pertains to relationships and coupling. But it doesn't seem like either side of the aisle wants to do that. It's the first part of this that I find to be the most interesting, that you could set goals. This individual, if I want to set a goal, I could do all of that. But when it comes to him, yeah, marriage used to be your guarantee. There was a guarantee. It was called marriage. And now there's no-fault divorce. This is not going to leave women happier. It is likely going to leave women unhappier. But of course, women will resort to marrying the state. You'll end up seeing the rise of communism. As women get older and they don't have support structures, they'll just insist that everyone else will fund a welfare system to protect them. Childless feminist women will be 70 with no children to look after them. So what will they say? Publicly funded retirement homes. It is a dangerous direction. And that's where we'll go. You see, they're mad that people like me, for instance, criticize no-fault divorce. This is really funny. The Week. They're like, what do they say? Why? What is the history of no-fault divorce? They go on to mention blah, 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 blah. Like, it used to be really hard to get divorced. And they mention like in the 1860s or whatever, you had to, where do they mention it? You had to go to the house and come on, where is it at? For most American history, before the Civil War, Alabama couples looking to dissolve their marriage would need to take their case to the state legislature and obtain a 2/3 majority in both houses. That's amazing. And then Ronald Reagan signed the first no-fault divorce law. What a mistake. They say, what are American right-wingers saying about no-fault divorce? Plenty. They go to mention Those featured include Daily Wire's Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, and YouTubers Tim Pool and Steven Crowder. Pool suggested that the policy discourages men from getting married, while Crowder denounced no-fault divorce as a system under which if a woman cheats on you, she leaves, takes half. Yes. So why is this traditional? Traditional conservatives argue that no-fault divorce has crushed the American family. I just want to make it very, very clear. Why would a dude get married if no-fault divorce is on the table and you can just take someone's assets? There's no reason to do it. Simply put, if you got rid of no-fault divorce, women could just date men and then break up with them when they were unhappy. Marriage was supposed to be on a higher standard that you opted into, a commitment to each other, a contract giving you guarantees and goals. And if they weren't being met, then you would go to couples counseling or therapy and you would be ordered to rectify the issue. Then they said, marriage is just like dating anyway. Who cares? Now you basically have these feminists arguing, I should be able to get married and then take his stuff without consequence. Well, then why would a dude marry you? I'm not wrong. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying dudes will not. Well, my opinion is that it's bad. But in this context, when I'm saying it discourages men from getting married, yes, duh. What's the problem there? Why would a man get married? You hear these stories all the time. In fact, you have The Simpsons talking about it for 30 years. I remember watching, Milhouse's dad gets divorced. And then he's like, I live in a divorcee committee, settlement or whatever. And then Homer's like, I sleep in a big bed with my wife. Or he's like, I sleep in a race car. Do you sleep in a race car? And Homer's like, I sleep in a big bed with my wife. You see, he gets divorced. He loses everything. His life is miserable. And then you hear this nonstop from all of these shows like Married with Children, don't get married. Marriage is miserable. Okay, then why do it? Why, if that was the message of our society? Especially now with the idea of no-fault divorce. Even before no-fault divorce, the message from shows like Married with Children is that Al Bundy is unhappy and hates his wife, but he won't divorce her. Now you have no-fault divorce. She could leave and kick him out of the house. The system is just broken. But I guess you have to ask questions about, the honeymooners. Dude literally talked about beating his wife. It's like, yeah, those were not good times either. There are problems that come from everything. But now where we are at in our society is that the cream of the crop, the best of the best, the top tier men, the tallest, the deepest voices, the most attractive, the most fit, the smartest, the strongest, they're going to bang every single woman. And your average man is going to struggle, become a single, lonely virgin. And so these women mock the idea of an incel. But the thing is, if you've ever actually looked at these communities, some of these are average dudes. They're like, there was one guy who was like interviewed as an incel. It's like he's a normal looking guy. Like put a polo and some khakis on him and he could work at any insurance firm or whatever. And he was like, don't know what to do. Now, social skills play a role. And as I mentioned, the skills gap is largely a factor related to dating apps and the internet. But there are going to be many above average guys who don't make the cut. And this is going to create really weird scenarios. Now, here's what's happening. Over at Vox, they wrote in 2018, nearly 70% of millennial women are Democrats. Isn't that crazy? Or we're leaning Democrat in the midterms. I don't know if that's changed or where we're at now. But this is also going to leave a ton of conservative men without ladies. Because these women claim they want men who share their values. But their values, if you're a Democrat voter right now, your values are based on just fake news and lies. Sorry, that's just the truth. They may not want to hear it, but that's reality. Russiagate, fake. Jussie Smollett, fake. Trayvon Martin, they fabricated Zimmerman's quote. They edited the audio. Hands up, don't shoot, fake. Covington Catholic, fake. The list goes on. You live in a crackpot world of lies. And do you think there's going to be a guy? So what guys have to do now is they're going to have to look at this 68% of millennial women. So guys are going to have to go to the women and be like, yeah, whatever you say, I'll believe your stupid lies. Great. You end up with male feminists and predators. 50% of millennial males are Republican. 24% of millennial women are Republican. And if men and women are about 50-50, that means for every two dudes who are reading the news and more likely to be well-informed, there is only one woman for them to date. For the women, they got their pick of the litter among the, whiny male feminist demographic. But I'll tell you one thing I find really fascinating. I'll tell you something that the feminists really, really are loath to hear. Feminists love conservative men. They really do. They'll deny it. They might lie about it. But there was a viral post where a feminist was like talking about how she fantasizes that a MAGA guy, a 6 foot tall, ripped Chad MAGA supporting Trump guy would dominate her. And I'm not saying every single woman. I'm saying there are many feminists who very much want strong, liberty-minded, conservative guys because whiny male feminists are not particularly attractive nor charismatic. And this is where the problems are starting to come in. I saw a video. It was an attractive young woman. She was like in her mid-20s, and she said that she was an incel. She didn't say it like that, but she was just like, she's a homebody who doesn't get laid. And I'm like, it may be because she's not attractive to these whiny loser dudes. But she also is scared about the social ramifications of going and hanging out with a bunch of Trump supporters and living in a city. And then I think most people just don't care about that stuff. And the bell curve is right in the middle and people are dating. It's funny when you see people like Kellyanne Conway and George Conway. It's like, how does that happen? The dude is anti-Trump, but the wife is working for Trump? Like, okay, whatever. The long story short of this, the dating system in this country and probably around the world is reverting back to a primitive model where big, strong men get all the women, like we're some kind of, I don't know, monkey tribe or whatever, because that's what chimps do. The one dude, the one male chimp beats all the other ones up and then bangs all the women. Like a rooster, I guess. Well, it is what it is, my friends. I'll leave it there. Next segment is coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.